Brainstem death is a term used to describe the whole brain dying, both the cortex and the brainstem. The brainstem is the central nervous system of the human body, and it is the center of consciousness. If the brainstem dies, respiration will stop. Once the heart stops receiving oxygen, it too will die and stop beating, and all other organs also die as a result of oxygen deprivation. Modern medicine has several ways to determine that the brainstem has died. One way is to use imaging technology to see if there is any blood flow to the brain. If there isn't, the brain cells have died from lack of oxygen. Is to check for the neurological activities that the brainstem controls. If the person is not conscious, cannot breathe, cannot swallow, cannot cough, and pupils cannot respond to light, these are all signs the brainstem is dead. If a person receives a serious blow to the head, the brain might begin to swell. Since the skull is made of hard bone, it does not allow the brain to expand. Physicians can try medication to reduce the swelling, but if this does not succeed, the pressure in the brain can grow greater than the pressure of the beating heart. Once this happens, the heart can no longer successfully force oxygenated blood to the brain. With no blood supply to the brain, the whole brain dies due to lack of oxygen. In fact, the brain cells don't just die. They begin a process called lysis, where they begin to liquefy. This liquefaction of the brain cells makes brainstem death irreversible. Once the brainstem dies, the person stops breathing, and the heart and the rest of the organs die from oxygen deprivation. The patient had been put on a ventilator to help him breathe, and afterwards his brainstem died. Even though the brainstem is dead and the lungs no longer function, the heart continues to beat because it is artificially being supplied oxygen from the ventilator. The heart is independent of the brain. It has its own electrical system called a pacemaker, found within its walls, that causes it to beat. As long as the heart gets oxygen from the ventilator, the heart will continue beating for a short period of time. The heart is simply an automatic pump and is not connected to any other organ in any meaningful way. In fact, a transplanted heart, for example, does not get connected to the brain of the recipient. The heart can beat for a few more hours, sometimes even a few weeks. But on the average, the heart will beat for about 2 or 3 days, and then it dies. Brainstem death is death. It is irreversible, and systemic failure of all organs is inevitable. No one has ever so-called woken up from brainstem death. The human being, the organism, is dead. But the organs, such as the heart, are being kept alive for a few more days, giving the appearance of a sleeping person.